during Operation Sindoor, you mentioned that the NSE face millions of cyber attack attempts within minutes.
Normally we get, say, 30 crore attack in a day. For example, if there is a India-Pakistan match, it might increase. And many times the terrorists or other entities or other governments, when they want to, embarrass you, they may bring down your trading or your websites.
Prediction markets, like in America, Polymarket is creating a lot of news. Even major exchanges are showing interest in that. How do you see this space evolving, if at all it does, in India?
America is a laissez-faire market. If you lose money, it's your problem. If you make money, your problem. In India, it's not a laissez-faire market. If you lose money, it's government's problem. If you make money, it's your brilliance.
When is the IPO coming out?
We get IPOs literally every day.
No, yours. The Harshad Mehta scam. I believe you lost 50,000 rupees.
We made a lot of money because markets were going up and we thought we were very good investors and we knew everything. But when the Harshad Mehta scandal opened, the markets tanked by like 40-50% or even more. That made me much more cautious of investments.
Social media tips that come in.
We use television, we use social media to tell them not to speculate. It's not only options. You buy in the morning and sell in the evening or afternoon is still speculation. Why are you doing it? If you are not an expert, don't do that. Don't believe in tips.
Would you advise the government of India to go to a de-dollarization path at all?
Broadly, every country is trying to de-risk itself from a single polarity. 20th century was also a fight between communism and capitalism. And 1989, when Berlin Wall fell, who won was marketism.
There was a lot of talk also that, it doesn't really matter to America if India signs with Europe or India signs with Australia.
Everything to do with W and U is going to now fall apart. Whether United Nations, UNICEF or World Trade Organization, World Bank, their importance is going to go down, bilateral will increase.
This episode is powered by Shipped Rocket.
Namaste, Jai Hind. You're watching or listening to another edition of the NR podcast with Smita Prakash. My guest today is Ashish Chauhan, the Managing Director and CEO of the National Stock Exchange. So what exactly does the National Stock Exchange do? In simple words, it is India's main organized marketplace for money and investments where buyers and sellers of Indian capital markets collect together to trade. We discuss a gamut of issues in this conversation. Mr. Chauhan, thank you so much for being part of the podcast. So it's the first time I have somebody from NSE on the podcast, so I'm pretty excited about this conversation. For our viewers, many think of NSE as a place where shares are bought and sold. At a basic level, can you tell me and our viewers, what is it that the NSE actually does?
In a fundamental sense, the markets are quite important to any economy, and markets are of various types. Be that for vegetables, be that for real estates, be that for stocks, money, and so on and so forth. And in some ways, the purpose of markets is to do price signaling of any assets or any commodity in the society. But it is achieved by way of transactions. So what you see as transactions, that is buy and sell, is actually a very interesting process, that how a society forms prices. And one of the modern economies, conundrum, is the asset prices, that the long-term assets, how do you price? Because the society is interested in that long-term assets, and capital markets are the longest term assets there is. So which companies are coming up, which kind of industries are coming up, and where the resource allocation should go of the society.
So that mapping savings is done by.
And so we don't do any mapping. We just provide basically a framework. But once you understand the fundamental process, that our job, the main job is to give you price signaling, but it's achieved via a transaction processing. And transaction processing is one side. On the assets itself, you require a lot of information. So especially for stocks, so we collect information from the companies and give you on quarterly basis, on material impact basis, on instant and stuff like that. So it's a complex process, but it's basically very important, because today in 1/3 of India's asset of any type put together is now represented by NSE, $5.2 trillion. And that's
Globally, where would you stand then?
we are now fourth largest after US, China, and Japan.
Okay.
We are the fourth largest economy in the world, and we are the fourth largest stock markets also in the world. At the same time, there is an economic theory which says that the poor or low per capita income countries cannot have a well-functioning stock market. Why? Because poor people don't save, and if they save, they don't trust even their brothers. How will they invest in companies sitting 2,000 and 3,000 kilometers away? But India is an exception.
It's overturned that notion.
Right? And so those theories are theories because exception is India. And that's where now 12.7 crore Indians, unique Indians, we have 25 crore accounts, 12.7 crore Indians put their hard-earned money into stocks of various types. We have more than 2,900 stocks to basically ensure that those stocks make money, and of course they give information, right? And if they make more money, then their stock prices go up and their wealth increase. So it's a very involved process, but it's now pretty much covering almost 25% of all Indian households. And that's a very large number. Earlier, stock markets were considered
Only for the rich to play.
only for the rich. But today, out of 12.7 crore unique Indians, 25% are women. Which is a large number. And that has happened post-COVID. Before COVID, I think we were running at like 2.5 crore unique
It was considered
investors.
a men's bastion? For how
Broadly,
long?
men's and rich men's.
Rich men.
Right? And that is the mindset today, even after this data, because it has not been well discussed, well debated. So even now, policymakers, media, general people still think it's basically rich men's playground. But I'll tell you, even when Mr. Modi took over in 2014, the total number of investors we had was 1.67 crore total number. The market capitalization was 67 lakh crore.
Okay.
Today, the number of people working through us, investing through us is now 12.7 crore. So 1.67 to 12.7 crore, right? Almost 7-8 times jump.
Mind-boggling.
And the market cap, which was 67 lakh crore, is now 470 lakh crore. So again, 6-7 times, right? So it's telling you that the middle class, because you invest in stocks only when you have some money, some savings in land, in gold, in fixed deposits, then only you
After
come to
doing
stock
all
market.
that, then you next go
You
there.
come to stock market. So India has become middle class in last 11 years of Mr. Modi's tenure. And that's why more and more people are also trying to invest in stocks via
And the
NSE.
mindset has changed. No, at one point of time, it used to be say juabazi hai, right? That changed. It was like rich man's way of playing with
Correct.
superfluous
it
money.
was considered playing, right?
Yeah.
It is not playing. It's a serious thing, and it's a hard-earned money. It is being saved for productive investment. See, if you invest money in gold, it produces nothing later on.
Dead. Yeah.
If you invest,
Property.
property again produces nothing except, of course, household and all, which are
Sure.
required.
But only if you sell it then. Here you're just doing the
Right.
purchase every day.
Not that.
Or not
The
necessarily.
companies which you invest in are creating more jobs.
Sure.
And so you are
A
getting a
chain.
job, you are getting some income, you save, you invest in a company. That company creates more jobs, gives more money to other people who save another money, and then they also save in
Sure.
the economy. So it creates a virtuous cycle.
And is this capital formation that you're talking about, that the NSE does and or facilitates by doing this? In addition to capital formation, there is also risk management that happens. So how does the NSE make money in broad terms?
See, NSE is basically what I call a facility provider, in addition to being a regulator. So our primary job is to act as a regulator, so that all the companies need to give information in time and at a particular point and stuff like that. The other side, the brokers, they behave particularly well and specifically in terms of giving information, not giving bad promises, wrong promises to their investors. And whenever the customers buy money, take money from the customers and give it to the exchange, against that the exchange will give the stock which has to go to customer's account in depository, and vice versa. So that's broadly the work we do, and we charge a small tiny fraction of the total value traded. Like, for example, in equities, if you trade 1 crore worth shares, we charge you somewhere around 300 rupees, which is like on a 1 lakh rupees, it's 3 rupees, which is like an infinitesimal.
Internationally, how does that amount?
Internationally, again, you don't pay yourself. Neither in this case.
No, what I
also,
mean is somebody trading in, say, Tokyo, how much is the percentage that they would pay when they trade?
see, usually the investors pay to the broker, which is called brokerage. This is coming out of the brokerage. So it's like a service by the exchange to the broker. And then broker provides service to the customers charging brokerage. Some brokers charge zero. Then they may charge the exchange charge as a separate. But many brokers, which are called full service brokers, would charge you, say, 0.5% or 0.25%, or even earlier in 1991, 92, it used to be like 2.5%.
Okay.
And so slowly it has come down because of the automation and costs also going lower for incremental number of trades. But it's pretty much one of the lowest in terms of the transaction charges in the world. At the same time, the users also pay other charges. That is the securities transaction tax to government, which is several times larger than what we charge. So effectively, like NSE might be having a revenue of X. The government gets revenue of like 5X or 10X in that range, right? So more money goes to the securities transaction tax and GST and other things compared to what exchanges would charge you.
So what is the advantage of a company listing with the NSE?
The companies, when they list, they actually raise funds usually. But sometimes their original promoters or original shareholders try to sell it in the market. Then the company's shareholders, which are old as well as then people who come in through the IPO, the new shareholders, get ability to transact their shares in terms of buy, sell. And naturally their information is put out in public, which is discussed in media, in television channels, social media, and also in a way that allows them to also raise funds later on. When they require more. They've already gone public because they list on us. Listing is public. Going public. But later on, post-listing also, if you want more funds for your growth or otherwise, you can come and take additional funds from the investors. You can issue rights shares, bonus shares, and then you get a larger sort of number like 12.7 crore currently investors who may want to buy your company shares because that is now listed. Otherwise, you wouldn't be able to reach even few thousand people on your own. So it basically gives a good amount of liquidity. And naturally, the mutual funds and insurance companies and all of them would invest in your company only if you are listed usually. I mean, if you are not listed, it's not easy for them to invest in your company.
Globally, there is a trend that these private companies, they are staying, companies are staying in the private space for longer periods of time as compared to the older companies, like say a Reliance or an Adani or even Airtel. They went public very early in their growth phase. So why are companies now staying in the private space more? Is it because they are already generating enough money from there rather than going public, and then the scrutiny becomes more if they go public?
So it's an American trend. It has gone to a little bit of Europe for different reasons. But in India, it's not the trend. So when we say world, we have been fed by what I call foreign media to think that companies stay private longer. It's the other way around in India. Okay. Today, even the tiniest companies worth, say, 20 crores and 30 crores, which is like $3 million, come to Indian markets to raise funds.
Like, see the startups or the tech companies, they're getting so much of investment anyway from private equity people. Like, they are investing. So why would they want to come to the NSE? Get more?
It is the other way around. Again, we have been made to believe by reading the page 3 of economic newspapers to think that all the people who are into IT or other things get funded. As I say, that we've been made to believe that trespassers will be funded. But you will be surprised to know that 1 out of 10,000 entrepreneurs get funded. Okay. The remaining 9,999, nobody looks at them. So they have to come to the stock market in case they don't have friends and relatives who can fund them. And that's where out of 12.7 crore investors, some or other people, if you can convince even 1,000, 2,000 people, they will invest in your company to allow you to grow with that money, because you don't require too much money. So in 2012, we started a small medium sector exchange. Today on NSE, we have more than 700 companies listed in SME, and similarly other exchange, there are another 700 companies. So totally 1,400 companies of small times, which you don't see that being funded by large guys who keep on paying money also to get printed on all sorts of.
But coming to you means more regulatory mechanisms.
It's the other way around.
Right?
If you remain private, those private investors actually have much more regulations over you.
Okay.
Compared to because our regulations are not made by us, it's made by SEBI, which is the main regulator.
That is arbitrary, you're saying.
In
the private.
Yes, it's
in the private
you
space.
ask some of those people who are what you come with is what I call survivor bias with lot of publicity, because those large money also has large amount of publicity money also available. But like today, those 1,400 companies listed on Indian Stock Exchange in SME segment have raised around 28,000 crore in last 14 years. And their market capitalization is 5 lakh crore or in that range. But none of you have heard of it.
Yeah.
Because we don't advertise, because we are also not into funding. I can only allow you to come and express your desire to raise funds through the investors. But those guys, they will put in 2,000 crore, but it will look like a noise of 2 lakh crore. And that's how the modern speakers, loudspeakers, megaphones, allow you to think that trespassers are going to be funded. But whoever doesn't get funded, the Indian stock market is very, very inclusive, not only for the investors, but also for the companies, the small companies, right? If you have a dream, and many times I say that if you want to raise 1 crore, NSE will raise for you. If you want to raise 1 lakh crore, also NSE will raise for you. Of course, you have to raise, not us, but you have to appoint merchant bankers and lawyers, and you need to appoint them. But broadly, Indian markets are the only market in the world today which have well-functioning SME market also. Otherwise, London had AIM market which failed. Japan also, it's not working out. Because we have created newer merchant bankers, newer lawyers who will do it at a much lower cost. Today in America, if you have to go and become listed, it will cost you $20-30 million. How will you raise $1 or $2 million, right?
So what is your benchmark then?
I mean, people are raising $2 million, $1 million also. And so how much they are spending is probably 5%, 10% of that money to come and list, right? So India is a very unique market which through the government policies and SEBI regulations is promoting small companies also to list on the stock exchange.
So the NSE, it's obviously shown a lot of adroitness to see that, everybody is accommodated. From an exchange's point of view, do you see a future where the NSE could create a private market platform for accredited investors to invest in unlisted companies? You don't have to be listed.
No, in a way, people have tried to push, but why would you want to invest in unlisted company if the company has no obligation to give information, right? And once any third party like exchange comes in, and if the company is not even being regulated by us.
So it's for protection that you're doing
right?
it.
So what is the protection we are giving? The company undertakes to abide by SEBI regulation for listed companies to the exchange by signing listing agreement and saying they will give quarterly results and material event results, when material event information, as and when it happens. Only that much they are supposed to comply. If those companies want to remain unlisted and enjoy the benefits of listing, that is getting investment from like 12.7 crore potential investors, when things go wrong, those investors are going to blame NSE or SEBI. Right. In fact, there is a lot of pressure on the regulator also to allow this. And yesterday only, I think some statement I have seen today's newspaper that SEBI might look into some oversight into that market. So whatever the regulations SEBI come out with, we'll have to naturally follow. Okay. But overall, why would a company not give a prospectus? When you want to get listed, you just give a prospectus, which is giving information about what the company is currently doing and all the information about your directors and other things. Why would you try to hide that and still come to enjoy that? I still don't understand.
Quarterly report file करना पड़ता है and all that.
But क्यों नहीं करेंगे? और नहीं करना है तो आपको क्यों आना है? जैसे आपको if you want to go into a college and you say, but I don't want to give exams, because then might as well, you can say that you create a new college without exams, which is also fine nowadays. That's how I'm saying that it's a bit of a dichotomy, but naturally when markets grow, people have aspirations to
And if
have-
there is a fund crunch, in case we go into, like in America, everybody's talking that a recession is on the way and this could happen, de-dollarization could happen, there's more wars which will happen, then resource crunch happens. In such a situation, some kind of flexibility will have to be shown, no?
it's the other way around also, that you are dealing with public money. When it goes down, that flexibility will come on the government and the regulator and the exchange saying that you allowed us to be taken to garden path by allowing this. And so it's see, public policy, public money is a two-edged sword. And we think it's a public's duty to give it to everyone without information, then be it. But for me, these markets have existed for 400 years, right, across the world. Even Indian markets are 150 years old. And that's why there has been a framework through this, all these things happen. And companies don't want to give information, then why are you?
And loss of confidence in the NSE would be disastrous.
For
if
me,
it were-
you are in a way going to create a situation which may
Lead
be
to
looking
that.
easy today. It's like every child from kindergarten should get not less than 100 marks in every subject. And then you see many countries have tried and now they're ruining, I mean, it's a ruin there, right? They are ruining that idea of promoting everyone without, and so, I mean, but who knows,
yeah,
governments take
we don't know
decisions.
finally whether those kids will get into IITs and
Even if
MBAs.
IITs also, they come, but will they learn? Because they are used to not doing work but getting 100 marks. So, for me, the idea is if ultimately if governments allow, we have to allow it. But finally, what is
Your
it?
recommendation would be not to do something like this.
Because then you are, in a way, dealing with public money. And it's going to dilute the information requirement, transparency requirement, which is required.
I'm just saying, would it facilitate more investments from small investors?
It is the other way around also. When it goes down,
They will get hurt.
everyone will get hurt, and even the genuine companies will get hurt. Right? It's like in a classroom. If everyone gets 100 marks, then the brilliant student will stop performing because they
It's
also
diluted.
Right?
Correct. Okay, so let me get to the question which everybody I'm sure wants to know. When is the IPO coming out?
I mean, we get IPOs literally every day.
No, yours.
So,
Yeah, you're waiting. When is the NSE IPO
no,
coming?
we have been given the no objection certificate after
By
almost 10
SEBI,
years by
yeah.
SEBI. And so we are working on it. It will take us a few months to prepare our DRHP, file it with SEBI again, then they will give their own.
So where do you
queries and
list?
all.
How does it happen?
We are not allowed to list on ourselves. So naturally, we have to list on
Where does
one
it-
of the. There are other exchanges like BSE. There are other exchanges also coming up. So we will.
So you
on-
list on your competitor's exchange.
Naturally, that's the regulation. We can't be, especially as a regulated entity.
Huh.
You are not supposed to regulate yourself, right? It's a so as far as the listing process, the company's information, those are the things which need to be regulated by third party, right? And it's I mean, although in other countries, all the exchanges are listed on themselves,
Huh.
like London.
So why didn't you do it?
It's a regulation of India, and we have to abide by that.
Okay. And what kind of valuation are you expecting?
No, we don't have a clue because basically what happens is at the
How
time.
can that be?
At that time, when the IPO actually happens, the market conditions will vary.
Okay.
So what happens is these merchant bankers, they advise the board committees called IPO committee that what is the correct price to offer and things like that. And so, you know how volatile
Yeah.
the geopolitics and the economics are. So right, so that's where, as and when the IPO comes in closer to that, literally the day, 1 day before or 5 days before only, the merchant bankers advise the
So the
IPO
social
committee.
media is already abuzz with it, and they are saying that it could be anywhere from $50 billion.
See, I think people make up their mind on something basis.
Yeah.
Of course, they will have basis like the company's profits, similar companies in the industry in India, abroad, the growth rates they have seen and stuff like that. But again, that remains to be what I call, you have to take it with a pinch of salt, right?
Okay.
Because what happens on actual listing, you don't know.
You're showing strong profitability. What is the reason to go public?
No, in a way, see, we are actually a frontline regulator also, and we are a commercial entity too, right? And we have now close to, more than 195,000 investors. They also require liquidity in their day-to-day understanding. We are already working like a listed firm. I mean, we do quarterly results. We do provide any material event on our website, but we don't get traded on any stock exchange, right? So, and listing and trading are two different things. You can be listed on one exchange. You can be traded on many exchanges, and things like that. Like MCX is still not traded on. I mean, not listed on NSE, but it's traded on NSE for last 12-15 years. So that you don't have to list to trade in your exchange. But irrespective, basically, if you trade, then you get many more people to participate, and they think that you will get better liquidity and stuff like that.
What do you do with that?
We don't take money for ourselves. We are not going to raise money for ourselves. We're going to raise, basically take the shares from our existing shareholders, ask them first, saying that if you want to sell in IPO, it's called offer for sale, OFS. You give it to us. With that, we will go to SEBI, saying that these are the people wanting to sell their shares, allow us to do IPO. So we will come out with a prospectus with their shares owned by them and offer it to public.
And then?
And then it starts trading, and then everyone can trade, including our existing shareholders and future shareholders.
Okay. So back to the same question. What do you do with that then?
Then that money which the new IPO shareholders give, it goes to the people who are selling.
But you are not going to put any condition for that has to be used for some other purpose.
No, it's actually called OFS. It's a common practice in India.
Okay.
Where the existing shareholders can sell their shares into IPO and take the money out.
So is one
like
of
Hyundai, like Hyundai, if you've seen, Hyundai was owned by Hyundai Corporation in Korea. They sold and they took out the money. LG, which is the another Korean company, they took out the money because they were owning 100%.
So are you providing an option for exiting of current shareholders?
A little bit, because see, my current shareholders are owning 100% of NSE, out of which basis regulations, we might have to issue say 4% on the OFS, 4.5% or something. So I'll collect that much at least from my existing shareholders in case they want to sell and give it to other people. So that's a procedural thing. It's not for us in a way to collect money for our growth, because as you rightly said, we are sufficiently profitable to manage all our future expansions as of now.
Okay. So how will this improve transparency and governance? Because that's what people are saying, that once the IPO comes in, it improves governance, it improves transparency, and future growth, you have more money to play with for future growth. Is that
it is true? And in our case, say transparency in pricing currently is not there because it's not traded on any exchange. So even the brokerage which you pay, as I told you, some brokers on exchanges charge 0 or 0.1, 0.2%. But if you do it on an unlisted market, you don't know what price you are getting it at. They charge the brokerage at very high prices. You don't even know how much is the brokerage, how much is the cost, right? And things like that. That's where when you trade on exchange, that transparency comes in. The other transparency is about investor asking tough questions to the management, saying why this went wrong or something is going wrong in your organization, which sometimes regulators are not able to identify despite all the inspections and all. But the investors, somehow, because they are numerous, right? Sometimes in millions, they figure out and they ask questions, and they actually make even the regulators aware of some of the wrong things that might be happening in any organization. So my fundamental belief is that any public utility, which NSE is, should be listed, whether it is electricity utility or stock market utility or any other utility. And we also...
For efficiency, I would think that. Yes.
Right? And
you have more money to play with.
Not only that, transparency...
I mean, playing is a wrong word. I shouldn't use that. But if you have transparency and efficiency, that means growth. That means better...
And also we basically serve public purpose. Right? And that public has a right to ask questions on our workings. Right? And it has been proved beyond doubt that after LIC listed, the corporate governance improved. And that is true with, if you see any large organizations, because you have to give out sort of information on real time when material things happen, and that is absolute
That means that
must.
due diligence has become stringent.
And it's a routine thing compared to somebody coming after 1 year trying to inspect. By the time things might have gone wrong even drastically, whereas real time investors are able to figure out, ask questions, even media is able to ask. And it's for me, going public is a very important aspect of any company, but largely it's even more important for public sector units, for public utilities. We are a private entity, but still we perform a public function.
Right. Let me go back a little bit in history and ask about the co-location episode. What was your take on it when it happened?
So in a way, I was working in another organization, and it was in a way when there were books written later on. There were books written in America before that about some people getting faster access compared to public. But technology is such that the newer people using newer technology will always get a what I call better, faster information or faster ways of doing things, and that's where there was a book by Michael Lewis also before the scandal came out on NSE and all. But for me, the technologies changes will also allow you to have some players who use technology faster, better, adapt to it faster, will have certain advantage. There were other allegations of some people getting even more advantage than what was announced and all. But when it went to the courts went through that, and the trades happen at fraction of a second in like microsecond. 1 second is a like
your board shows that
10 lakh microseconds, right?
Yeah.
So in that event, it's not even understood how somebody can get a consistent advantage and all. And it's allegations. People when they have been scrutinized by the courts and all. And so for me the final verdict has not yet come, and so it remains to be seen how.
So did that episode delay the IPO in any manner?
It did. I mean, it created a public perception. It came out in 2015. I was not working for NSE then. But it brought down some disrepute to the entire market. And then later on, it came out in some another form in 2022. So it sort of the regulators were very cautious in allowing the IPOs and things like that. But for me, the public institutions actually improve their working by listing. So I would argue the other way around, that if you think a particular institution is not working well, actually list it faster.
You came from the private sector into this, and this deals with public policy. Did that chapter in any way propel you to see that there should be fair practices put into force? Was that one of the goals when you took up this job?
No, of course. See, what happened is I am from public sector. I used to work for IDBI in 91. And in 92, IDBI was told to set up NSE. So I became part of the team that set up NSE. So I used to
and then you returned.
Yeah. So, and then I left in 2000. By the time NSE had become a giant. From 94 it started to 2000, it had become much larger than any other exchange in the world, all of them put together by miles. And so when I left in 2000, I had no intention to coming back to stock market itself. But in 2009, we had my family, I was working in private sector, but my family also had a small software company for stockbrokers, which was bought by BSE, where at the end, when the negotiations were on, they put a condition that I have to work with them for a year. I was not working for BSE. I had no intention to work for BSE, just that my family was selling a company and I am known as
You came with that.
So I went basically because that condition was such that I had to work with them for them to buy. And it was a large amount of money for my family, like a retirement fund for us. We are not salaried people, but it was like several 100 times our salaries, right? So, and so I went there for 1 year to fulfill that condition as a deputy CEO. And then I remained there for 13 years, 3 years as a deputy CEO, 10 years as a CEO. And naturally, my wife, who used to own those shares in the company which we sold, she got a lot of money, which sort of, that's how, in a way, I came to BSE, remained there. I was retiring from there in 2022 after 2 maximum terms of 5 years each. After that, you can't be CEO of any exchange in India, maximum 10 years. And so I was retiring, and then the NSE opportunity came with all the baggage of scandals and all. And so, since I had set up NSE, my family was against it, but I said somebody needs to work on cleaning up because it's a very important institution for the society. That's how I.
So, are those loopholes which were there then, which caused that scandal, are those plugged now?
Absolutely. I mean, there have been many inspections, investigations. and annual inspections, even literally daily concurrent audits and other things happen. So broadly, what was alleged is now fully behind, right? And there is nothing in the sense remaining except all the sort of court cases and other things. But overall, it's now 10 years, 11 years since the first allegations emerged, right? So in the meantime, 3 times the board has changed, twice the CEOs have changed. So a lot of changes have happened, and naturally, SEBI has been overseeing NSE's progress.
So, since we have the rear view mirror on now, I'll ask you about the Harshad Mehta scam. So, for many of our young viewers, they would only know it through OTT serials and things like that. That happened in 1992, and I believe you lost 50,000 rupees, which was like a huge amount in those days, right? In those days. Now, explain to me how that experience shaped your career.
No, in a way, I was just out of IIM, IIT, and I was working for a financial institution which was naturally aware of the company's workings, and I'd done MBA in finance. So, and when BSc was like 2 kilometers away from my office, so evenings we would go there, people would still be trading. And then the liberalization was happening in 91.
Yeah.
And so it was like a go-go years of sorts, right? And so you also get sucked into it. I did, many of my friends did. And we made a lot of money because markets were going up, and we thought we were very good investors, and we knew everything. But when the Harshad Mehta scandal opened, the markets tanked by like 40-50% or even more. And we lost, all of us lost money, and I also lost a large sum beyond my abilities. And so that made me much more cautious of investments. And then, of course, I was told to work on NSE as a project. So since then, then 10 years from 2000 to 2009 end, I worked in private sector also. But I had no interest in investing in stocks. I do teach stock markets.
Did it burn you at that moment, like all your friends who were, investing at that stage when that happened? It was like, oh my God, this is too risky. Nahi dalna, isme nahi dalna.
It does. It does. I mean, for me, when I was allowed to invest like 2000, 2009, I was in private sector. I had all the rights to act as a private citizen and buy, sell stocks. I never did because that experience is so important.
Scars you.
Yeah, it just that when your money is hard earned, you don't want to let it go. If it doesn't go up, it's fine, right? For me, I'm happy with money we have, so I don't. But I don't want it to go away.
Did you see that press conference, Harshad Mehta's press conference?
I did. I mean, I was naturally as a young professional just came out, and the liberalization is happening, and the markets are going up. He was like a folk hero, right?
Yeah.
It suddenly went down, and all that. It was like very, very disturbing.
I was a young journalist at that time too, so watching that, it impacted tremendously. That, and a question which many of us at that time was like, curiosity whether did liberalization happen too soon? Because there were so many naysayers, right? The communists were there saying, "Dekha, humne to pehle hi kaha tha." So that left a very strong impression in many of us young journalists' mind that at that stage, that did we gamble too much in liberalization in this country? Is India not ready for it as yet? We don't have systems in place. Did you also think like that at that time?
It's the other way around. See, I mean, in that time, I was just not thinking, right? In a way, you lost money. Okay, you lost money. Now you have to worry about how to collect and give it back, right?
Okay.
And so, but what happened is then NSE got set up. It became a success. More people could participate. More people made money. Then I started thinking, I started teaching from 95, 96 onwards with students and you realized that it is the technology which changes life.
True.
Right? And the liberalization also was forced upon us because we as a country did not improve on technology. So we had to import a lot and export nothing because we were producing nothing worth what the rest of the world was asking, right?
Yeah.
And we anyway learnt wrong lessons of becoming independent, saying that the Britishers came to us, subjugated us for trading. That's why we should not trade with the world. But if you don't trade, you think you are not trading, but you are importing, right? You are importing oil, you are importing electronics, you are importing gold. till now, we have not been able to bridge that gap of merchandise exports vis-a-vis merchandise imports. The gap is very large. It's just that with the services, we have been able to bridge that gap now with the services exports and also remittances. And for me, but those days were humongously bad, right? We were not having even 15 days of imports. And that's why for me, my worldview changed, saying that any society which tries to stop technology from coming, that society is doomed to failure. Right? And so it is the other way around. I mean, although Delhi is the policy making, Mumbai is the doing things, right? We are the doers of the world. And there the lessons very, very different. And we could see that in all these companies like Infosys. IPO came in 93. 70 rupees per share.
Yeah.
IT nobody had heard of. The issue failed. And underwriters had to actually pay up. And those guys became billionaires by accident. Because then it took off.
True.
That 70 rupees, if you had invested, it would be worth probably 20,000-30,000 rupees by now, right?
True.
And so that's what you need to understand.
Even Wipro was like that, I still remember.
Everything, right? The IT, people from nowhere with no background, no concept of, there is no industry, right? You're not investing in plants. And still, it ended up giving so many jobs. It was a revelation. Of course, in retrospect, I can give you that everyone knew, nobody knew, right? How IT will change India in a transformative way, a decisive way. And nobody has talked about it. But we are still trying to control our businesses. It is the other way around. Let them go and win the world, right? Experiment.
I still remember a very top industrialist. His son now is one of the biggest industrialists. At that time, holding a floppy disk like this while speaking to us in the media and saying, you people think that people who make this are going to be the big industrialists of tomorrow. And many of us were like, maybe he's right. He has so many mills and he has so many factories. There was that doubt, in the 90s, if you recall.
No, it is. Even still now it is, right? People,
because unless you have brick and mortar
if you can't
factories,
physically, we are that type of people. But the 30 years of experience of liberalization, of technology adoption as this country, there is no other country today which is more adaptive to new technology than India is.
True.
You take China, you take Japan, you take Europe.
Our payments.
Not only payments, your CoWIN, your GST, your faceless.
Digiyatra. So many I can name.
Our people, even 70-year-olds, are bedhadak using technology, right? There is no such country in the world, I'm telling you. We may be per capita poor, but we are the highest per capita user of bandwidth in the world.
So is this the reason why we are one of the largest options markets globally, because we have adapted to technology so quickly?
No, it has become easy to transact. That's why, but we are not. See, there is a perception that has been created that we are we are the largest options market in the world.
One of the, okay.
By 79%. But
volume you're saying is different.
See, it's like you are saying that you ate 100 grapes, whereas I ate one watermelon. So because you ate 100 grapes, you have eaten more fruits. That is not, one watermelon will be like 10,000
You're talking
grapes.
about amount
So
traded.
Last month, India was doing 20% of America's option premium traded in stocks. Only 20%. How we are dominating in America at 80% between two is not dominating is because the storytelling has stuck. Saying that because our per transaction value is $100. Their per transaction value is probably $1 million. So
but it's also the power of a small investor in our country.
It is the other way around also. That's why I'm saying, see, many times we create stories and then they stick because they are so bizarre that we want to believe. Right? And then we make policies on them. And that creates another issue altogether. Right? So somewhere, and it happened in Korea also. In 2012, the Korea used to be the options kind of leader in the world.
Okay.
The government was forcing, no, we cannot be doing this. That market was taxed heavily. It came down by 90%. And 2025 also, I was called, people like me were called in by South Korean government to advise them on how to bring back the market. So sometimes what you have, you hate. And when it goes away, you want it back. So I hope we don't want it.
Make policies like that.
Right? So,
Okay.
somewhere we have to have what I call Madhyam Marg, right?
Huh.
Go through all the stuff, take all the data. People may have agendas, people may have perspectives, and don't allow over speculation. Because the small investors should not be losing their hard-earned money. So that's why if you don't want to allow small investors, have a minimum requirement of say, payment of taxes, which is called
So you
qualification
think
criteria.
they should be discouraging small investors from
Absolutely,
putting?
because derivatives are very risky. You lose your money most of the time. Why would you want to participate in that? And why would you saying that by taxing more, I will stop them from doing it? It's the other way around. If he has not paid taxes, say above,
But it's exploded,
that's why I'm saying
derivatives market.
And by increasing tax, they are still going to work. It's like lottery. You put tax, people are still buying lotteries, right? So instead, say that if you don't have so much of tax paid, like 10 lakh a year or 20 lakh a year, we will not allow you in stock markets. Automatically, small investors will go away because people who pay 20 lakh rupee tax are not small people. Then you will not have that reason saying I am protecting small investors.
Okay.
But by taxing more, you are not stopping that small investor from coming. See,
So you need the NSE needs to educate small investors.
it is
in
the other way
that-
around. The regulation can be such that
Can be.
small investors below particular tax paid cannot be there.
Okay.
It will at least take away that worry about small investors losing sort of their.
So are you
hard-earned
engaging
money.
with them to explain to them the pitfalls of doing this?
We
Don't.
conduct 16,000 programs, investor awareness programs in a year. Every day in 50, 60 places across India, some or other programs of NSE on investor awareness are going on.
Okay.
We use television, we use social media to tell them not to speculate. It's not only options. You buy in the morning and sell in the evening or afternoon is still speculation. Why are you doing it? If you are not an expert, don't do that. Don't believe in tips. When you want to buy a 10,000 rupee phone, you will do like 5 times comparisons. Ask 15 people. But when somebody sends you a tip, you will buy 1 lakh rupees worth of
This
stock.
is the social media tips that come in.
Yeah, even the
On
tips,
Instagram, on Facebook.
Even tips come in MSM also. So somewhere for me, everyone is into fast trading. And if you don't have an expertise of stock market trading, in the long run, like Nifty is going to complete 30 years on March 9, 2026. 30 years. If you had invested 1,000 rupees in Nifty and done nothing, just stayed there, today it will be worth 25,000 in 30 years. No other asset class would have given you that. Plus, if you take dividends out of those stocks, it will be almost 30,000. So what I'm trying to tell you is, if you are not a trader, an expert, like you are not a race driver, a Formula 1 guy, why are you racing on a Delhi street? Have some control, right? And if you can't drive well, have a driver or go in a DTC bus. So for me, if you are not expert, go through mutual funds.
Okay.
Don't trade daily. Invest for 3-5 years. Certainly, if you're a retail investor, don't come into derivatives. Those are the messages we give. We are the literally only organization in the country, perhaps on the world, who negatively markets itself. If you want to come and trade on NSE, don't do all these things. We tell you what not to do on NSE.
Okay. So this, there are also people who are saying that because of technology, it's trading has become over gamified, and that's why more and more people are indulging in it.
And that's why we have to take them away from that. See, investments is a very productive activity for the society as well as for the person who is investing. But making into a game is not correct. And especially for small people, because they have hard-earned money, and if that money goes, there is a social repercussion which is very bad. And that's why some of this gamification should not be allowed to. It's like you don't allow your children to do many wrong things. You should also not allow certain people who cannot handle it, because they will come on the government's neck only when they lose money, and that time government will have a hell to answer, right? Instead, if they are not allowed by having some minimum qualification criteria, this issue of small people losing money will easily be taken care of. Then it becomes a large fund managers and other people, they can trade whatever they feel like.
So what is your view on on these prediction markets, like in America, Polymarket is creating a lot of news, and even major exchanges are showing interest in that. How do you see this space evolving, if at all it does, in India?
See, America is a laissez-faire market. If you lose money, it's your problem. If you make money, your problem. In India, it's not a laissez-faire market. If you lose money, it's government's problem. If you make money, it's your brilliance. So the government of each country has its own obligations, its own ways of doing things. And India cannot afford this kind of total speculation of which is called wagering in Indian contracts. It is prohibited actually.
Isn't that a very nanny state way of looking at it, that we need, India is not ready for it as yet?
It's not, I'll tell you, the risk versus ability to take risk in any society. See, we are still a poor country, let us face it. And as I told you, America is laissez-faire. Vis-a-vis what you call India is a nanny state. Whatever pejorative you want to use. But boss, it is important for Indians not to waste and fritter away their families' money. Whatever little they save. See, rich people, of course.
How does rest of Asia do it? Like, how does Singapore do it?
Singapore has a minimum qualification criteria. America has a minimum qualification criteria. What are we saying in derivatives? Right? We are saying that free market, matlab free market, kuch bhi kar sakte hai. So, how come you are not opposing driving on the left side of the road? Free market of road means anywhere you can drive. Na? So, why left is because there is a particular, otherwise traffic will not move.
Okay, so you have mechanisms in place. So, what is the harm in bringing in these kind of speculation? I mean, it's like saying कि जुआ खराब है, but जुआ तो खेल रहे हैं सब लोग ना?
सब लोग नहीं खेल रहे और हर रोज नहीं खेल रहे. It's not allowed when you do gambling in public. Today also Janmashtami or Diwali.
No, like say in Singapore, in the casino, they allow foreigners to play to go to the casino. But if you're a Singaporean, you have to pay double money. You have to pay an entry fee to get inside. So they are discouraging in a way that you have to pay money. So same way, if these polymarket kind of companies...
It's not only money, boss. See, if the small people, entire Singaporean poor people start going into that casino, I'm telling you, Singaporean government will be the first to ban it.
Fine it, ban it.
Because Singaporean government is the epitome of nanny state. We may think it is free. Because they are prosperous. They have become prosperous by protecting their small people.
Okay.
It's not the other way around.
True.
Right? So be very clear. Yeah. You are being given what I call wrong theories. And India, I have no doubt in next 30, 40, 50 years.
Which country do you think that we are following those kind of norms? Is it Europe, in some of the European countries?
We are picking and choosing, saying when I say free market, don't restrict me. But when I lose money, I will come and blame you. Governments cannot afford that, right?
Okay. I want to ask you about one of the interviews that you did, which was during Operation Sindoor. You mentioned that the NSE faced, the National Stock Exchange, faced millions of cyber attack attempts within minutes. Tell me about that episode. Where were you when you got to know this happened? And how did you people get around to ensure that trading continues and is not impacted majorly?
See, basically what happens is we are, in a way, very important financial institution from the world's side also. And many times the terrorists or other entities or other governments, when they want to, what I call, embarrass you, they may bring down your trading or your websites. See, trading, if it stops, nothing happens. The assets remain. Asset values remain. It's the trading is not happening for whatever time. But when they close down, say, your website and put their poster on top of that saying this has been hacked or something, it gives them that brownie points, nothing else, that we have gone to this mountain top and put our agenda, although next moment it will go away. But that is where people try, and our trading happens on a separate network, so it was not affected or not attacked. The websites which are public facing, they're among the top 5,000 websites of any type in the world. And so because a lot of people come to visit them about company information, prices information and all every day. So people do attack us all the time. Normally we get, say, 30 crore attack in a day.
20 to 30 crore attacks in a day?
In a 24-hour period. But sometimes, for example, if there is a India-Pakistan match, it might increase and stuff like that. You may find
India
it funny.
Pakistan cricket match, there are attacks on you.
Yeah, it's a funny thing, but this kind of stuff happen, okay?
No, but this is phenomenal. What you're saying is that during a cricket match, so when an IPL happens, you guys
Not
get
IPL.
affected.
In India-Pakistan,
India-Pakistan
not
match
in
hota
during
hai,
IPL.
not
but,
IPL, sorry, in this T20 match.
Yeah, it does
thing.
happen. It's very strange, but it does happen. So, what I call the faux patriotism by those guys on the other side.
Yeah.
But whatever the case, during the Operation Sindoor, I was sitting in a listing, and because sometimes companies list, right? And so I have to sit in as an official from exchange. So I was sitting there. It starts usually at 9 o'clock, the listings, and 9:15 is where the event starts. 9:15 is also when the market starts, and 10 o'clock is when we ring the bell. And so I started getting messages that there's huge traffic coming on the website, and then it became huger and huger. And so I think in 10-15 minutes we got like 40 crore attacks, which is like twice what we get in a full 24 hours.
Where
right?
was it coming from?
From across the world, because what happens is this people who attack, they have servers made into slaves.
Jumping IPOs.
And then they go through that. When they give a signal saying now start attacking particular IP, they start attacking. So that's where we got huge traffic, just to show that in Indian websites, some of the largest kind of public websites are not working. And so, but we could handle that. I then, of course, I had to keep on messaging my people saying, stop foreign access, because they were all coming from abroad. And most of my clientele visits us from within India. And so those are the things finally happened, but we could handle that particular attack.
But you knew that before 10 a.m. bell time, you knew that there are going to be a surge of attacks today?
We are always very, what I call, we don't sleep easy, let me put it that way. It could happen in the night, it could happen anytime, even today, for example. And so it's not an easy life for an exchange officer that when you wake up in the night, first thing I see is my mobile saying the messages, because we work 24/7 to ensure that the services are available to Indian public 24/7, right? So that's where a lot of preparation goes, and a lot of interactions and coordination with various agencies go on to ensure any such eventuality we are able to handle.
So, how vulnerable are we as compared to, say, the US or to China or any other country?
Broadly, I think everyone is equally vulnerable.
Okay.
And it's the way we prepare ourselves that the attacker has to be successful only once in 5 years, and you have to be successful every time, right? Every day, every single moment. And they can come through any loophole, and you have to cover all the loopholes, right? So that is where the preparation has to be there. And then by chance, I mean, touch wood, we have not been sort of done up till now. But if something goes wrong, then how do you prepare yourself for that eventuality of what we call business continuity process? Suppose the building gets bombed. It has happened in BSE before, right? In 93.
Yeah.
Then now the regulators have told exchanges to take over from, by whatever means, if one side stops, there is a full 100% backup in another city, in another seismic zone, thousands of kilometers away. From there, we have to take up the trading as if nothing happened in 45 minutes from the time it stops in one place, irrespective of earthquake, bombing, anything. The other side has to, and then we practice it day in, day out. Like every month, one weekend goes in
Dry drills.
and all our brokers have to log in. They have to also test. Twice a year, that is once in 6 months, we run 2 or 3 days continuously from the other side without the Mumbai side even touching those machines.
But the
and all.
traders know you've done that.
Yes, we give them advanced information, but sometimes we run the halfway through the day, we close and start from the other side. And sometimes they don't even know
And
beforehand.
it's not necessary for you to move physically for that.
No, we have full teams on the other side, full backups on human as well as.
As MD, what is one of the most difficult things you would have taken, most difficult decisions?
No, we.
What is the biggest challenge that you faced as
No,
MD?
In a way, how do you? See, one is to take a momentary decision, which may, like one day, like 7 o'clock, I have to get money from all brokers in the morning, right? We work through the night and get all the money. But somewhere you don't get that money, very large sum. And you have to wait for that 3 minutes more. That is the most harrowing time for you. Because if you allow that person not to pay, the money goes into very large sums.
Okay.
You are basically putting systems at risk, right? And it can have its repercussions which are wrong to the society. And so it's a continuous, what I call cortisol moments for the exchange officials to do every single day things which may work, which may not work. Sometimes it works partially and you don't even know because billions of lines of code, millions of routers and switches and computers codes and
Have
everything
gone
has
into
to
that,
work perfectly.
So would Operation Sindoor attacks that happened at that time, would that constitute as one of the most challenging times for you?
It is, of course. But again, as I told you, by chance website goes down. It's not a big
Financially,
deal.
it may not
But
be significant.
if suppose the market stops trading for some time, it's not a big deal because India's valuation of assets doesn't go down. But if I have a default,
A psychological impact will be
It
there in
will-
that one, but here it's a financial.
right? And then if there is a default and then it's a domino, that is later
Yes.
on additional default. Those are the, so somewhere you may have psychology impact which is visible, instant when things stop trading. But the other impacts are much larger. So you have to have that gumption, that understanding of figuring out where things are going to go wrong, plan for it, execution every day. And that's what, 34 years, I have seen markets not working due to a date.
The Y2K.
No, before that. It's like you...
That must have been significant too for the
right,
NSE.
Y2K was significant, but before that, when we started NSE, instead of 95, we wrote 1995, right? And then it stopped functioning next day because...
It doesn't take 4 digits.
Right, so...
Yeah.
And I've seen so many such things in life that this, whatever care you take, of course, you try to take more care next time. But there is a small little probability that all these billions of moving parts somewhere may not work. And so we keep on building on top of that information, decision-making parameters, use all the new technologies of AI and all sorts of things just to ensure that the services continue. Right?
Is AI going to be God or is it going to be the devil for the NSE?
They both, see, again, it's a tool, right?
You will adopt it or
it's
you fear it?
You should fear your tool, but you should use it to the best possible sort of methodology so that any tool, any technology that comes, if you don't use it, you remain behind, right? And we have been literally the pioneers of automated stock trading in the world. And we have been, over 30 years, we have been the, what I call, path breakers of technology. Even latest like T+1 settlement. When we went live, after 1 year, I was getting some award in London. That day, Europe was going live on T+1. America was going live on T+1 and Europe will go after 2 years from us. So we have been like the first mover, like April 11, 26, we'll go nanoseconds response time. 1 second as 100 crore nanoseconds, right? We would be the first in the world, the fastest in the world, because that's what NSE is. It's India's best technology company without being called technology company, right? And we will have to be that just to keep India ahead.
Okay, 2 questions before I end. I'm going to end with, of course, what you were saying about NSE technology ahead. I'm going to end with that. But before that, one question on this de-dollarization that everybody is talking about and, reducing dependence on the US dollar. How do you see the Do you see that happening? Do you see a structural shift happening at all?
No, it's a interesting topic. I can talk on for hours. But broadly, if you see how when the reserve currencies change, when reserve currencies change, somebody else has to take up. When before World War II, pound sterling was the reserve currency, and in the Indian region, literally west and east both, India was the reserve currency because we were in a way run by Britishers,
The
right?
British, yes.
And so pound sterling was the reserve currency. But from 1920 onwards, after First World War, America, which was an up and coming country with huge industrial base, which was increasing rapidly, was preparing itself to take over from UK as a reserve currency. After World War II, many times I say that after World War II, World War II was fought between European powers. It was won by third party called America, right? So, and then that World War II got ended. The Americans called Bretton Woods people into Bretton Woods, which was a place nobody actually even now goes. It was just one single hotel where they were kept and told to sign literally that this is how it's going to happen. World Bank, IMF, central banks like reserve banks and all. And the US dollar became reserve currency, but a lot of preparation went. Today, where is that alternative, right?
Yeah.
And that is where it's basically what has happened is post 1972, when the
But is
dollar
there talk
backing.
happening on because of the
No,
geopolitics?
talks are happening. There is
politics
an
which are
aspiration to have something, but you don't have an alternative,
alternative,
right? And
okay.
so 1972,
The
Richard
Chinese
Nixon,
are not promoting themselves as an alternative.
no, they can
They
promote,
can't.
but then they have to prepare. They have not prepared, and then they have to also be willing to give up certain things which they are not willing to. Right? America flooded the world with dollar because they wanted to be reserve currency. China is not, and so for me, why people want to go away from dollar is because dollar has become in
The
a way
volatility also, yeah.
also because the gold backing had gone in 1972.
Yeah.
Right. And so now dollar has no backing. Neither any other currency has a backing. So if you say de-dollarization, then other currencies also will have similar issues.
Huh.
But then the gold has now come into play.
Yeah.
There are other what I call tom-tommed assets of crypto and all, which is again a fake issuances and all. And so it remains to be seen what finally happens.
So you think it's overstated, this de-dollarization?
People will try to go away from dollar, but it will take a long time.
Okay.
And also the fact that the trade patterns will change. It is possible that in 5, 10, 20 years, even dollar loses a lot of importance. But you might have multi-currency framework instead of a single.
India's experimenting with that.
Right. So there are many other alternatives. You don't have to have a single reserve currency.
Would you advise the government of India to go to the de-dollarization path at all?
Broadly, every country is trying to de-risk itself from a single polarity. Right. And again, when I come out with my philosophical situations, I always say that 20th century was also a fight between communism and capitalism. And 1989, when Berlin Wall fell, who won was marketism, not capitalism, not communism. Because even China is communist, but it's a market country. Vietnam is communist, but it's a market country. India is socialist, but it's a market country. America is capitalist, but it's a market country. So for me, every time you think
Bazaar.
Everything is some two fights, third thing wins, right? And that's where the outcomes have to be understood in that context, that what is going to come up and how as a society and how as policymakers we take our chances to ensure that the new things which are happening, new risks which are emerging, new technologies are coming, we bring more safe alternatives without prohibiting anything to our population, our country. And that is what the job of every policymaker should be.
So the linkage of world markets with India, Dow falls, what happens to us? Should India, what mechanisms are in place that we don't get affected by the vagaries of what is happening in American markets? Should we be protected or not?
See, broadly, of course, if we can protect, we should protect. But we should also understand the acute connectivity of modern world. That everything is connected. The money flow, the goods flow, the services flow. Now, if the Dow falls or S&P 500 falls, there are companies in S&P which have sort of suppliers from India or their back office in India. If their sort of ability to make profits goes down, they're going to take out people from there. Probably they're going to actually take more people here because the cost is. So there are connections. Some of them are also opposite to what happens there, right? And so, but the fact is that the world is connected. That is true with China also. If the AI companies are going up and then China punctures by having open source models which will bring that down. Some of those AI companies in America are having their models getting trained in Bangalore or in Hyderabad. Now what happens to them? And so you need to understand that if we want to be isolated, that's what we wanted to do in 1947. Right? So that's what happened in 1947, that we wanted to be isolated. There is no isolation in the world because the technology has changed, the goods, the services, people, they are moving continuously and they are all interconnected in a very complex web, right? And so it's going to happen even if there is nobody from America investing in India. The companies themselves, which are listed here, listed there, will have interconnectivity, the manufacturing, like clothes or garment. If the America is not doing well, our garment exports will also go down, and then jobs will go down. And so it may have a impact which is lagged impact or instant impact, but the stock markets try to estimate that impact now of that activity happening in America or Russia or China or Iran or Iraq. They try to estimate and then put a value to that on the stocks which are affected. And that's where sometimes they run ahead of the situation. Sometimes they actually run far ahead of what could potentially happen, but that happens in even a single stock market also.
There was also this talk that, when India is signing so many FTAs, so there was a lot of talk also that, it doesn't really matter to America if India signs with Europe or India signs with Australia. But here in India, the experts, who are watching markets, who are watching these deals being signed, they're saying, no, it's going to impact.
It is huge. People don't appreciate. See, when you look at the entire trade stuff, see, we have always been kept away. And it has been our fault also of our foreign policy that we were non-aligned. And still we were aligned with countries which were poor. The USSR was poor compared to the West, and we aligned to minor extent with them, but we are non-aligned, and all the people who were non-aligned were all poor. And in some ways, when the World Trade Organization, etc., where before that it was called GATT, General Agreement on Trade and all, we were taken as a slightly prosperous country vis-a-vis, say, China or Bangladesh or Pakistan. So our garment exports are taxed higher compared to, say, China's after even now, when their per capita GDP is 5 times ours. Bangladesh. So our exporters could not export, but we are like a frog.
But we signed up the WTO.
But we were not even aware, not choice, but we were not also aware that we need to ask, we need to do hobnobbing, we need to sort of act as allies of somebody and get our work done. But we were very, too self-respecting people who had no clue of how to get this done, right? And for me, this upheavals in geopolitics is actually a godsend.
The trapdoors have opened for.
Because the multilateralism, which was Europeans also did not want us. They wanted to give China more benefits, America and Europe, because they wanted to wean away China from the orbit of USSR. So they gave them more benefits. Now China has become their master. But we were nobodies, and we were anyway not that important, so we were kept away. Now, when America has figured out, Europe has figured out that China is not the best of friends, so when it's opening up, the multilateralism in, I think, February 25, I spoke in Singapore in one of the international conferences, I said, everything to do with W and U is going to now fall apart. Whether United Nations, UNICEF, or World Trade Organization, World Bank, their importance is going to go down, bilaterals will increase. Because what Mr. Trump was saying, why it's happening is also because Americans are feeling poor. And so if Mr. Trump,
Sentiment is important.
because they were there, they've come here, they've become less prosperous compared to other parts of the world, but they are saying that,
Look at their economy though, sir.
but boss, last 80 years, they feel that everyone leached on us and we didn't get any benefits. Now we are asking that, boss, will you give?
But they laugh about this multilateralism that it's not happening.
That's
but has it happened?
No, multilateralism happened, but US thinks it happened at their cost because China came up and things like that. And for me, today, India also is now capable to think about itself. India is also fourth largest economy in the world, so you cannot be ignored. Earlier, you were like 28th and 15th and all. So you could have been easily ignored, right? And that's where today India is saying, boss, I have a place on table, count me in, and let's work together. If you have, and that's where for me today this bilateral, what we have done with UK, what we have done with EU, Australia,
Britain,
New Zealand, even Japan, other European countries which are not part of the EU, and now US.
Hopefully Canada.
US, Canada. For me, these bilaterals are going to be so much more important to you because then that also allows each country to moderate that if required. Whereas in multilateral, they had no choice. You had to just go and ask for anti-dumping and they will not allow you and you have to... Whereas the bilaterals have ability to, both countries can figure out that I am benefiting or not and do work accordingly. And that's where bilateral today for India is much more beneficial. And you will get to export like other countries which were getting benefited on taxes and other things compared to you, to Europe, even to US.
Okay.
And that's where, for me, I see a lot of growth in, say, garments. We are the largest producers of cotton in the world. But we are not the largest.
Cotton garments, we are.
No, even cotton itself, growers.
Okay.
But we are not the largest exporters because Bangladesh takes our yarn and makes, and they get the tax benefits and quota and all.
Quota,
Right? And that is true with China also. China is no longer poor, but they are exporting $100 billion, $150 billion of just the garments. Why? Because we have not been allowed to get into that table, right? And so many such things. Now India will be able to compete with the rest of the world, explain to that other bilateral friend saying, see, you are working with those guys, give us the same thing and we will give you better at lower cost, and we are basically not going to be arrogant about it, right? And we have proved that to the world, right? Today, 3-4 crore of diaspora of Indian origin is the most, what I call humble, most productive diaspora of any country in the world, right? And we have earned that. Our diaspora has also earned that reputation. India has earned that reputation as a very, what I call, sincere citizen of the world. And for me, today, it is possible that it might have happened after 5 years. It might have happened 3 years before. But now that is happening, we have to take this as an opportunity and ensure that we come up in industrial game, in the AI game, in drone game, in robotics game, any new game, including nuclear energy. Let's start working with all the bilateral partners and become useful to them so that they in turn start giving us even better benefits.
We don't request for being at the high table. We are at the high table.
Right? We are the fourth largest now, which was not true 10 years back, right?
True. I have to ask you about this one picture though. You're standing there and talking to Dr. Manmohan Singh. You have seen the era of Manmohanomics and Modinomics. You were you were in the NSE at that time, right?
Correct.
And now you are the MD. You were there. What was your role? You were like
AVP,
vice president, assistant vice president.
Yeah, 26 years.
When that, explain to me this photograph and compare the two.
No, in a way, Dr. Manmohan Singh was a very interesting personality, and naturally he was RBI governor, and he had been in many places in the government. So, and he was at that time finance minister, and under his tutelage only NSE was conceptualized. It got the registration and things like that. So when we started the NSE, it was to start for the bond markets, because the bond markets where the Arshad Mehta scandal took place. And so we started
that. Was during Narasimha Rao's time. He came in
as
he
a
was
finance
minister. Yeah.
And so basically we started the markets, and we were told you start the market because we don't know whether your technology will work or not. And so it worked for a month or so, and then he gave the time to inaugurate. And that inauguration was in Nehru Center, which is slightly, at that time NSE office was in Mahindra Towers, which is at the TV tower in Worli, Mumbai. And the Nehru Center is slightly, say, 1 or 2 kilometers away. It was at 10 a.m., but he wakes up early. He said, now I will go and visit NSE. And those days I was like 26 years old. Broadly, all these things are happening. I had no family in Mumbai. I was from another city. And so I was most times sleeping in the office only. So some morning, I think 7:30, the dog started moving around. Those guys came. Then I said, what happened? They said, no, this
Finmin is coming.
Minister is coming. And then I had to call bosses saying,
FM is here.
Right, he's going to come in next whatever time. So some of them came. And so when he came, he wanted to understand what a particular thing does. And so, people are used to, in those days specifically, the floor-based exchange. And I was trying to explain how all the switches work and how the computers programming.
That's what I wanted to ask. You had computerized at that time.
We had no floor.
No
we started without floor. We were completely computerized. The first end-to-end computerized order matching system in the world that became successful. So that's how basically he was very curious to know how you do this, do that. And he was happy. He went to Nehru Center and officially inaugurated by pressing a button and all, but he had seen how all these things work.
And his vision and what is the vision of the Modi government, is there any difference? Are they, who had more money to play with, the capitalist outlook? What is the difference between the two?
Broadly, I think those days are different. In 1990s, we were nobodies. We were having a serious, what I call, self-realization problem. We were not confident as a country. And we were literally into serious issues on balance of payment for very long, because IMF, World Bank programs were still going on in those days. So we were, and America was a very large presence. When I recall Frank Wisner and all being royalties in India,
ambassador,
right?
Yes.
And things like that. And he had also visited NSE those days. That's how I recall. But today's India is very self-confident. And we had to work under many constraints those days, right? We did not have foreign exchange.
Balance of payments,
right?
Like,
So we were to work under many constraints. And now when Mr. Modi took over, we were again going through some serious issues of high inflation, rupee falling abruptly, being part of the fragile five and all. The banking system, which had been sort of giving loans which were not tenable, that started hitting the sort of NPAs within few years of
Dr.
Mr. Modi
Manmohan
took
Singh
over.
as Prime Minister said that at that time there was a perception problem also, which had come in the world, and there was nothing that they could do to change that perception at that time. And you also said this, right? The Americans are feeling poor. That feeling is a sentiment which is very difficult to express in real terms, but it matters for markets.
It does, but look at, for me, Narasimha Rao was that leader who you thought did nothing, but pretty much without him, this Manmohan's, what we call
liberalization,
would not have happened, because same Dr. Manmohan Singh was PM and nothing much happened, right? So in some ways, we have to give a lot of credit to Mr. Narasimha Rao also. And of course, Dr. Manmohan Singh is one of the, what I call the top leaders we ever produced.
But more execution.
Right. But when Mr. Modi came in 2014, the mood was similarly bad, because we would have gone into similar tailspin if it was not handled well. And what I've seen is the profligacy in Congress government in terms of the fiscal deficit and all has been always very high vis-a-vis the BJP governments. And Mr. Modi has excelled in controlling the government cost vis-a-vis the economy's cost.
Like you, there are many lateral entrants who have come into policy formation in this government. Do you find it difficult to deal with the Indian bureaucracy? Because, I had Sanjeev Sanyal in the podcast, and he was talking about the bureaucracy, how it curtails free thought and free enterprise. You have dealt with that too. How do you deal with it?
But I am not a lateral entry. I was kind of born into the system, right? 91, I joined IDBI.
But then you went out and then you came
Yeah,
back.
so in a way, for me, see,
You've done both.
and you have to work with the system you get, right? And for me, my job is to do execution more than policies. Policies you make, the government makes, the regulators make. My job is to explain to them to the extent they can understand, and then finally they take a decision whether it's your liking or not. You have to execute, right?
Right.
And so I have been even in private sector, I was more into execution.
Okay.
And of course, because you execute well, you get to participate in policy making. But it's not your job, right? So finally, somebody has to take a call saying, you are going this direction. This is how it will happen. You can't continue to argue because execution for me is more important than strategy.
Okay.
There is a book by Ram Charan and Larry Bossidy called Art of Execution.
Okay.
So for me, you can have brilliant strategy, zero execution. What is the point,
What's
right?
the point?
For me, execution is what counts. Execution is what India needs, and we need
Management principles.
we need to do more execution, more execution, more execution.
Right. Finally, a question looking 10 years ahead. What would be your goal for the NSE? Like, would it's an institution builders and those who create institutions, those who preserve those institutions. What is it? What is the goal? To ask Indians to save their wealth, preserve their wealth, grow their wealth? What would you want to do?
Broadly, the way I look at it is twofold. We have learnt a lot as an ecosystem of how to create modern markets using modern technology. And we automated what I call the thicker part of the normal curve, which is the stock market. And then the commodities a little bit. But there are what I call the fat tail part of the normal curve, which we need to automate. So given our experience of running trading, clearing, settlement, risk management in pretty much the fastest moving market in the world today with 2,000 crore orders in a day, which is like 50% of all orders in all exchanges put together in the world, right? Whatever we have learned should be used to upgrade, automate other markets. Like currently we are trying to automate electricity futures.
Okay.
Right. We are now trying to set up a coal spot exchange, some of the other commodities markets in metal and all. So for me, how do we, whatever we have learned in one place, that is NSE, how do we expand into other areas to give better price signals, ensure like we want to go from fossil fuel to green? How does that transition go smoothly with market mechanism rather than government subsidies and things like that? So that's where my focus is on. How do we automate more markets? The second part is, I have no doubt in my mind, when NSE started, total market capitalization was 3,80,000 crore. Today it's 470 lakh crore, right? 120 times. If India is going to grow by 2047, it's going to become what I call a developed nation, as Honorable
Bharat,
PM has
yes.
said. It will grow on the back of NSE, right? And it doesn't do anything great. It just gets people to meet together, decide on a price of a stock, get information about the stock in the company or electricity or gold or whatever, and just allows you to trade and give your stock or gold to you or money to you. That is the only job it does, but it brings transparency, right? And the modern sort of countries which will grow fast on what I call capitalism without capital. That today, a small little guy with his own story can raise small little funds but can become billionaires, and also that billions will be distributed over his shareholders if he has come to SME market and raised. So how do we create that confidence in young people to come, take their companies public? Some of them will fail, but we need to allow experiments, and that's for me. If India is going to grow, it'll grow on the back of NSE, and it has to do that job. It doesn't have to be like everything to everyone. Just do that job of capital formation, channelizing of savings, uh, keeping in mind the risk management, keeping what I call individual risks also in mind, saying small people should not go for the high risk instruments and things like that. We will have basically a developed nation in 2047, and that NSE will play because 120 times more wealth. One third of India's wealth today is represented by NSE without our knowing. 30 years it has done, right? Next 30 years it will be even more, but it has to do that single non-glamorous job every day, day in and day out, right? That is, one is improve markets, newer markets. Second is just run those markets well.
Okay. On that note, on that positive note, and on that hope that we march forward with I think, pragmatism as well as, I would say, being ambitious, right?
Absolutely.
The
India
combination of these two.
India has to take its chances, take
And-
all the new technology that comes, use that. We are the best users of technology. We don't have to invent. But
Okay.
we have to be the best users of technology, make use of that, give our sort of use to the world. We did that to IT, right? We
Yeah.
ran the world during COVID.
Yes, that's
And
true.
we are still running it, right? And
Right.
so for me, Indians are honest, hardworking, and wanting to work, young, technology adaptive. There is no power on earth that can stop India's march going forward.
Amazing. On that optimistic note, thank you so much, Mr. Chauhan, for spending time with us. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thanks. Thank you for watching or listening to this edition of the ANR podcast with Smita Prakash. Do like or subscribe on whichever channel you've seen this or heard this. Namaste, Jai Hind.
This episode is powered by Shipped Rocket.
Click here to watch the previous episodes.